Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
If you're going to reinvent continuously, one of the most important things that you're going to be charged with once you decide what to reinvent is to lead change. It's one of the most vital things a leader does. Welcome to the Lead Everyday Show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And today we're talking about leading change. It is huge.
It's a huge topic.
Huge thing, especially in a world that is changing like never before. It's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy how fast things have gotten and how complex they are.
Yes.
And so leaders, if we're going to reinvent, it's great to come up with this list and we think about this and we cultivate our creativity yesterday. But at some point, we got to put a foot in the ground and say, this is what's going to be different as we go forward.
And then you've got to make that a reality.
And you got to make it a reality. And there's some things that I want to give them some steps that they can take, but there's a key that we have discovered. We've been working on change. I say we have, you guys and your team have been working on change recently, and we're actually going to write on this later, but this idea of change, we discovered something. We're going to save that kind of to the end today, but let's talk about some of the things up front, steps.
That's great. I want to amplify something you said. Change is so hard, and it just is. The conventional wisdom is that only 3 in 10 organizational change efforts are successful. Think about the cost. The financial cost, the emotional cost, the wasted potential, opportunity, and human capital. If 7 out of 10 projects where you want to change something as a leader fail, I mean, we just decided that is absolutely unacceptable. And so to your point about there's work been done on this and there's going to be more work done, we've already spent about $4 million on the research to try and figure out how to help you and leaders around the world increase your batting average. I mean, I'm not saying we can get you to 70 to 80%, but my goodness, if we got you to 50 or 60% of your change efforts were more successful, we think that would be a huge accomplishment. And I'll say one more thing about that, back to the challenges and difficulties. This is my 12th or 14th project of this nature over the last 25 years. It is clearly the most challenging, complex, and difficult thing that we have studied as a team. And so I'm excited. I mean, I want to be sober-minded about the challenge you face and the responsibility we feel to share something that will add value. So today, I want to kind of give you a sneak peek on where we are on that journey.
Yeah, that's so great. So change is hard, that's right, but we can't just be winging it. We need a plan to implement change, to lead changes we're talking about. And I think that once you decide what you're going to change, it starts with communication. That will be the first piece of that plan. Again, I think you can take the things we're about to talk about. There's a little at the end, a secret, but it starts with communication. Talk about that.
There are 4 levers that are not going to be revolutionary when you hear these, but they are essential. And one is communication. And it's communication about the vision, the goal, the destination, the metrics, the why and the rationale. I mean, you got to help people understand the change. And we're not going to go deep today, but that's a lot easier to say than to do. You've referenced it in previous episodes. There's so much noise out there. And there's organizational inertia in addition to human inertia, where an object at rest tends to remain at rest until acted upon by an outside force.
Yeah.
And there's so much working against change that there has to be clarity of messaging. And so that is one of those critical levers.
And you say communicate tirelessly. It's like you can't get tired of this. This is the job over and over. We'll go back to our say it, spray it, wheel it, deal it. This is what you do as a leader. You're communicating tirelessly that change.
And just parenthetically, I would estimate that the typical change effort is under-communicated by a factor of 100.
Probably so, yeah. I mean, that might not even be high enough.
It may not, and we may revise that going forward.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
I think it's at least going to require that much more focused, strategic effort to get the change accomplished.
Okay. The second step, you say to expand your leadership. Talk about that. Well, what do you mean when you say expand
your leadership? As you would imagine, we've tried to understand why change efforts fail. And so many times they fail for lack of energy. Well, sometimes it's because the senior leader is the provider of the energy. They're the only energy source. And once they've got too many of these things going, or they begin to lose interest or become distracted, the change loses energy. So we found in many cases where change is happening successfully, the leaders have in essence deputized other leaders to provide the energy.
Yeah.
So that leaders obviously do more than that, but as it relates to change, one of the things they do is they keep the change in front of the people.
Yeah, and that would lead us to number 3 is they provide support or ensure support at these different levels, but you talk about providing support, and that's important as well.
It is huge, and support comes in all shapes and sizes. Do people have the resources they need? Do they have the training they need? Those are just a couple of examples. You may say, well, sure they do. We trained them in the beginning. Yeah, but you've been through 2 or 3 iterations of this and you've not redone the training, or you've not trained the new people who've joined who now don't understand or don't have the skills, or you've under-resourced something. And without support, I mean, you've heard the concept of an unfunded mandate. Unfunded mandates don't work in the government, and unfunded mandates don't work in organizations either.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so before we get to our secret here at the end, we got a way to think about this. I think will be very eye-opening for people. But let's go back to high school science class. Remember, we got the test tubes and we're blowing stuff up and all that stuff. We were experimenting. That's what's going on. I think one of the things that we get to do after we communicate and expand our leadership and give people support is we get to try stuff in an organization. This is a huge piece of this as well.
And what we found, again, is where change is successful more often, the leaders maintain this mindset of experimentation and iteration. Not only may they tweak the ultimate goal and destination, they are certainly going to tweak the methods and the strategies and the tactics. You don't keep doing something that's not working, hoping it's going to work differently. I mean, that's insanity, right? And so in the most successful change efforts, leaders embrace and pursue a mindset of experimentation.
Yeah, it's just almost a spirit of innovation. They're constantly doing it. Okay, so if 70% are failing, I have a theory. My theory is this, and we discovered this as we did this research, is that change is no longer linear. It's not like you get to start here, do these 8, 10 steps, and things will be changed. And as things change faster, just do the steps faster. That doesn't actually work.
No, it doesn't
because there's a concept here that we discovered as we did this research. I want you to tell them about that before we go today.
All right. So you could assume that what we just shared actually makes sense in the order that we shared.
Just do these and that, yeah.
Well, you don't, because the nature of change has changed. Change in today's world is a non-linear process. So how do you navigate a non-linear process? Well, it's incumbent on leaders to practice something. I'm not sure what we'll ultimately call it, but right now we're calling it dynamic awareness. And it is, think about head on a swivel. You've heard that phrase, but strategically. And you're not looking at the whole world. You're looking at those 4 levers I just talked about. And you're saying, do we need more vision? Do we need more support? Do we need more leadership? Is it time to iterate? And you're doing that constantly across an organization, because what you may find that this team needs more vision. This team needs more support. It's time to call a timeout and create an experiment. And so it's the leader's ability to shift their focus seamlessly and effortlessly across these 4 and put the appropriate focus and attention at the point of need that actually makes the change possible.
Yeah, that's
so what we're working on,
amazing.
Just where we are in the process right now, we believe that to be true. I think the research points to leaders who do that.
And we met with a bunch of leaders and organizations.
Lots of research. Again, about $4 million worth already.
Yeah.
And so we think that's true. What we're now trying to figure out is, how do you teach dynamic awareness?
Yeah.
And we've got some theories, and we're going to keep working on that. But keep your head on a swivel and be looking at the communication and vision, be looking at leadership. Do you have enough energy? Be looking at support. And be asking, is it time to iterate? Is it time to tweak? Is it time to adjust? Leaders tend to get rigid. They say, no, we've got a vision. We've got a plan. Just run the play. And just don't keep running the play if the play's not working. So you can tell I'm kind of excited about this.
And I am too. It's going to be great. I would encourage you today to begin to noodle on that word, dynamic awareness. Are you aware of what's going on? And go back to something you said earlier. I might have too many things I'm trying to change at one time. I need to focus that. That's great. Or maybe I'm just trying to initiate one change and that's too much focus. Maybe we've got enough capacity to do one more thing. You have to decide. That's a part of dynamic awareness. I encourage you to start thinking about that. What is it in your organization that needs to change? If you're going to reinvent continuously, it's a question you're going to ask yourself over and over, and ultimately you'll have to lead change. Remember, the best leaders lead every day, and that includes change. We'll see you next time.